Welcome back to Scinary Information Nexus, your podcast of sin.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today is Wednesday, September 24th, and I am joined by my colleagues, Ty Valdis, Director of Operations at Scinary, Mario Ortiz, SOC Manager at Scinary, and Brazos, Director of Strategic Initiatives at Scinary. Say hello, everyone.
Howdy.
Hello, everyone.
How's everybody doing?
Doing good.
All right.
Good.
Would you like to care to explain to the audience why
Yes.
you said we're recording on a Wednesday?
Yes. I don't know why we got to bring up old stuff. So for those listening, we did do a podcast episode last Friday. And as usual, we had our beer and we explained our beer, and we actually had a very good episode on how to prevent ransomware. Like, we found the answer to that, but
Solved it.
solved it,
We were going to put ourselves out of business.
solved it. But sadly, someone, and I'm not going to name any names, Mario, unplugged the sound. So we got a bunch of video and no sound. Do you care to explain yourself?
It's like El Dorado. It exists. You just got to go find it.
So it turns out that we were doing some camera switching and stuff, and I unplugged the wrong cable. So this was on me. So hopefully this episode is recording now.
I think we're good. We checked like 4 times.
Right. Yes, absolutely. And for today's episode, so we solved the ransomware issue last week, but nobody will ever know.
Mm-hmm.
But
Again,
today,
job security.
yeah, today what we want to talk about are VPN providers and data brokers. Specifically, the team has done a lot of research into VPN providers, data brokers, some pitfalls with those guys. And to lead it off, I'm going to kick it over to Brazos to kind of explain more about what the episode's going to be about.
I would love to hear about VPNs, but I haven't even heard about your beer, Brazos.
Oh,
My
yeah.
bad.
Yeah, the one. Well, no, you were actually. You said you were going to drink that today. Are you going to open?
I am like I'll do the honorary
because you did it yesterday.
After rolling it around on the table.
It says to roll it around on the table. Yeah.
Something about the sediment or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
I've also been under the weather, so I'm not really myself right now.
Yep. But for me, I've got the Hofbrau. I'm probably butchering that, but Oktoberfest beer. So Joe would probably be able to explain this a lot better than me. Unfortunately, he's not here because I know he's a big fan of these German beers. But it's all right. To me, this tastes like your average like light beer. I mean, if you go and pick a Bud Light off a shelf, you got this.
All right.
But it's German.
Oh, all right.
Makes it better. More efficient. More
Yeah.
efficient. in here.
Fair enough.
I have a feeling there are going to be a lot of people very upset about that. People that are maybe even Joe himself that are very like my German beers. But
Yeah, to
Nah.
all of our 5 listeners, it'll be fine.
And the last episode didn't air, right?
Correct.
yeah,
All right, so this is the first time I've had this can. This is the Ace Guava Craft Cider. I think this is the first time that I've drank on the podcast.
No, it's not. You had mead.
I did have mead. I forgot
did
that
have
day.
mead.
It was a lot of mead that day.
And
That was a lot of mead that
he
day.
used to drink the Angry Orchards too.
Yeah, in fact, we had to make a internal rule about podcast after the mead episode because it was fantastic.
that was a great episode.
and that rule lasted all but like 1 week.
Yes,
More mead was
absolutely.
brought back.
Ty, what do you got over there?
I got a Dr. Pepper.
Fantastic. That's exciting.
What do
Makes
you
the
have,
world taste
Richard?
better.
Hold on one second. I've got the cran apple.
Not the ocean spray.
The ocean spray cran apple, and it is great.
Isn't that a diuretic?
Oh no. Not this again. All right. So what are we talking about today?
Yeah, so I remember due to again the issue with the recording issue from last week, we were scrambling to kind of find a topic that we would talk about, and I know we were Ty and Joe and Mario and us, we were kind of throwing around some ideas. And Ty actually had the idea of talking about the VPN providers. I think we brought this up maybe at some another episode or?
Well, so Richard had brought it up, and that was the one I was looking the most forward to because I was like, I know some stuff about VPNs.
Yeah, and so what we're focusing on specifically is that there are a class of VPN, like obviously you have your WireGuards and your open VPNs, like the underlying, protocols and technologies that support VPN service or virtual private networks. There are organizations out there that have taken that or whatever other proprietary system they may be using, but most likely it's going to be OpenVPN or WireGuard. They are offering a service, and these companies like Surfshark or Nord, they offer a service that you can pay for, and it is a consumer grade VPN. Works how you would expect it to some degree.
I have a question. Not being briefed on this episode, can we forget about Nord and Surfshark being sponsors for us?
Oh, yeah. No, we don't want these sponsors. No.
Yeah.
No, please don't sponsor us, actually.
Yeah.
Stay far away
reverse
from
psychology. I like it.
Oh,
I like
after
not.
this video, I don't think that they'll be
I was
sponsors.
about to say we're
Do not approach.
But the whole thing is kind of talking about this because unless you've lived under a rock past 5 or 6, honestly, probably 8 years, you have most likely seen these companies advertise on platforms like YouTube, for example, but even some of your, like probably the podcasters you're listening to, I guarantee you've heard, well, today's video is sponsored by Surfshark. You want to see how they can protect you while you're at your cafe or something to that extent. And we really just wanted to talk about that because as a cybersecurity company, we suspected and know that there's some problems with these. The other issue that we kind of wanted to talk about, obviously there's data brokers, which data brokers are these organizations that aggregate a lot of personal identifiable information about you from all kinds of different sources, public repositories, cookies, what you tell them, right? What's shared to them by other entities that they partner with. And then there's services, because obviously there's an issue with this data broker. Privacy is in like the forefront of everybody's mind. I mean, if you're looking at VPNs, you're probably somebody that's concerned with privacy. So these PII removal services that, again, same thing. If you haven't been living under a rock, you've probably seen the advertisements for. They sell a service that will supposedly go to all these different data brokers and remove that PII from them. And so we just wanted to have an episode where we talk about that and the practices of these companies and what they aren't really telling you. So
I do want to stop there and caveat, because again, I haven't done any of the research on this. So whatever you guys have come up with, I'm sure it can be supported. Your opinions can be supported by evidence that will be presented. In my mind, in the understanding the way VPN works, basically it's, unless you set up your own VPN tunnel, it's not really private. It's not as private as you think it is, because the VPN is connecting to a server owned by one of these companies, either NordVPN, Surfshark. Those are just a couple, but they're owned by those companies, and they have that data, so they know like what the end IP is, or the end host name is that you're going to. So it's not as confidential as you would think being a VPN. And I think a lot of these companies take advantage of the fact that VPN, virtual private network, it's private. Nobody can know. Now, does it shield you from your ISP? Yes, absolutely. Right. But it doesn't shield you from NordVPN or Surfshark or the other million companies that are out there doing this. So I think it's a good episode to explain to folks exactly the ins and outs of that, and maybe some laws around all of that stuff as well. Did I encapsulate that correctly?
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what are some of the things that you guys found in your research on these VPN providers?
So do y'all want me to jump in first? I've got a bunch of stuff on them. It's
Go for it.
Yeah,
really
you're
fun.
like rubbing your hands together.
Okay, so I spent like the last probably 4 hours just taking notes on all this stuff. And I started this yesterday because I wanted to do something that I expect that not very many people have done. you can have assumptions in your mind. Like I've seen these companies, if you see a sponsor on YouTube, you're like, yeah, I'm not going to buy that because it's probably trash. Well, I wanted to go and look into the privacy policies for these companies because I don't think anybody's done that, or most people. So I took the two big ones, obviously Surfshark and Nord, that you see online, and I compared that to a company that I know is like a known good company that does this, and I wanted to compare their privacy policies and their terms and conditions.
And you did find that Surfshark and Nord are owned by Nord Security, right?
I didn't look at that, but that's interesting.
They're both owned by Nord Security.
But whenever I was looking at their privacy policies, to be honest, they're very, very similar. So I'm not surprised.
So you're saying that Surfshark and NordVPN are owned by the same?
Yeah, they're both owned by Nord Security.
No, I did. You know, there is one thing that's interesting about that. I think it may have been Nord, just because if they're owned by that. If you're looking at, so, and this gets kind of in the data broker thing, but in their privacy policy, you have to state who is the data controller. That's a part of like GDPR. That here in the United States, there's laws where
so Nord needs to state who their data controller is.
Yes, where is, so if you're going to contact the organization regarding your data that's on their platform, and again, we can get into this a little bit more in detail whenever we talk about the data broker specifically, they have to denote who that entity is or where that entity resides. In their privacy policy, that entity is registered to Panama. For Nord. So, yeah.
Shout out Panama.
But their company is based in Switzerland, I believe, or is it Switzerland?
Sweden, I think.
Sweden. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, I mean, there's a lot of companies that operate in the United States that are
but the difference
limited
is
overseas or incorporated overseas or whatever for
you got to look
tax
at the
purposes.
laws and what the data laws are, because Panama isn't part of 14 Eyes, is it?
I'm not sure.
One or the other is part of 14 Eyes and will absolutely hand over the data to law enforcement if they ever request it.
Yeah. Well,
the entire point.
14. I've heard of 5 Eyes.
There's 5, 9, and 14.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So I will say that, so the data controller is in one location, but I think that's based off where the company is incorporated, which they are definitely incorporated in a country that is a part of that. And they very clearly state in both privacy policies that they will hand over the data if asked by a legal authority. They specifically reference, I forget the EU, it's like 260 slant something, but it references the EU like GDPR code that talks about how data can be requested by a legal authority, and they're referencing that. So all of their data, and it's in clause 1. When you're looking at Nord, they have clause 1. Clause 1 talks about all of the data in which they collect on you, and in each one of those, they will state basically, hey, if requested by a legal authority according to the EU.
So are they collecting like geolocation information on your device that you're using the app on?
So depending on the service that you are using with them, yes. So here's the thing that is interesting, and with the privacy policy specifically, is that when you look at them, they will say that they are a no-log VPN. You can go, and I think this is, a couple years ago, there was another one that was like really big, I can't remember, that got in trouble because they did log everything. And I think they changed that where now they are a no-log VPN. And what they mean by that is they aren't logging your connection to, when you connect to the service, and then let's say you type on Amazon.com.
Yeah.
They're not going to log that. When you go to Amazon.com, they're not going to log it. But the thing is when you connect it.
Whoa, wait a second. What do you mean they're not going to log it? That's a DNS request.
Yeah, it's not logged. I mean,
and that's where we'll get into.
So if you aren't, the whole thing with that is that if you type in Amazon.com, their VPN is only encrypting the traffic. I mean, it's only flowing through. Their server is not logging that through their VPN service. That is true. When they say no log, they are not logging that, at least according to their privacy policy. Now, I can't see their actual server, and there's something I can point out to that too on my comparison to a known good company. So that's not getting on their server. Now, if you look, they will denote each one of their services in their privacy policy. That is just a VPN. The funny thing is that no log clause, they will clearly state it at the front of their privacy policy. This is the funnest thing to me. They say, I can't remember which one, but it starts out, hey, our privacy policy is quite long, so we've done the liberty of summarizing it for you. We are a no-log VPN. And then they state some other fluff language, and that's the summary of the policy. Well, if you continue, and this is where they want you to stop. If you're an end user, you don't know what you're doing, you're not wanting to spend an hour reading a privacy policy, and I understand why you wouldn't want to do that. You stop there. You're confident that it's a no-log VPN. It's secure. I'm not going to be tracked or whatever. Well, when you start reading the privacy policy, you go and look at their different services, and one of them, which is their DNS service, is logged. Mm-hmm. It does log all of your connections, where you're going, your geo-IP, like your device ID, all that stuff is logged if you're using their DNS service. So while yes, the VPN itself is not logged, the DNS is. And so that's basically invalidates that. And there's other pieces of it as well where, let's say, yes, the VPN service itself isn't logged, but did you pay for it? And did you pay for it with a debit card? Because if you did, they know who you are. Yep. Because the bank has to have all that information to do the transaction. They're logging when the transaction facilitates from your bank or your debit card to Nord or Surfshark, it transfers an account ID. That account ID is tied to your account. That then your debit card and all the bank information, so your first name, last name, all of that, your bank knows it. They can then track, okay, you did purchase a NordVPN license subscription at this date, at this time. So you've just identified yourself in that transaction.
So Joubert moment.
So what the agents of evil could do is take that information and subpoena Nord or whatever the European equivalent of subpoena is.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And say, hey, I need all the records you've got on this user, this IP address, this, IMEI, data. I need all the data that you've got on that. And then by their own policy, they turn that information over to whoever, as long as it's a lawful
As long as it is a lawful request, yes.
Yep.
Well, that seems terrible.
Mm-hmm. Welcome to 90% of the VPN solutions out there.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think the big thing is that I think we understand that that's separate. That's the first question you asked, right? You were like, how are they not logging that if it's a DNS request? 9 out of 10 people don't even know what that is. We're in the industry. All they care about is I want to watch K-dramas on Netflix.
Yeah.
And NordVPN is free and it was advertised by my favorite YouTuber and I'm going to use it.
So this gets into a thing in Texas, right? Because in Texas, there are certain types of sites that have been outlawed by the state of Texas. Mm-hmm. You, as a citizen, you're not allowed by law to go to those sites.
Right. And a few other states too.
Yeah. The way around that is to get a VPN tunnel.
Yes.
And then connect to the site that you want to go visit from somewhere else where it's allowed. Mm-hmm. Correct?
Yeah.
So what you're saying is if Texas law enforcement wanted to grab that data and they had a lawful subpoena, are you saying those users are cooked?
Yes,
That's a clip.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, they would get the data pretty easily as long as it is a lawful subpoena, and if you were making use of anything additional, that they can most likely attribute you as a person to a specific event or time frame, because they are logging things like when you make that financial transaction, they can if they went and looked at your bank account, they pulled your bank account statements. They see that you had a transfer to NordVPN. It's going to have your account ID within that transaction. They could then go to Nord and say, I need to, here's my lawful subpoena for this particular account ID. You need to turn over all the records that you have. And in those privacy policies, they state for a lot of those different things that they're controlling that they retain them for up to 2 years, or at a maximum of 10 years after, or not 10 years,
Holy
2 years.
crap.
2 years. I'm sorry, I said 10. 2 years after your discontinued use of the service. So they are maintaining all of that data. If you're using it for 5 years, they've got it for, most likely they have continued to hold that data for 5 years until you kill that account. And then they still have it for, at most, at least according to their privacy policy, for 2 years afterwards.
That seems terrible.
You sound a little worried, Richard.
I'm not worried because I know how to set up my own VPN.
Well, and so this is something that I wanted to bring up on the VPN side of things too, because you can go set up your own thing, and we can talk about that and how you can go and do that. But if you are concerned about privacy, right? Like let's say, OPSEC, as you would call it in cybersecurity, even that, like when you go to, let's say, Vulture, like we use here, or AWS, the big thing, again, is that financial transaction. When you rent that server, as soon as you do that, there are records that identify you because the know your customer laws regarding banking. So whenever if you pay by a debit card or you pay by an ACH transfer, you kind of dig yourself in at that
hence
point.
Dogecoin.
Yeah, that, and I don't want to go too far on, because I know we're talking about the privacy policies themselves, but basically, if you cannot pay in cash or cryptocurrency, and you're worried about OPSEC, don't use the service.
Yep.
So
Monero still exists. Bitcoin still exists.
Yeah.
Not
Monero's-
affiliated.
Not affiliated. Monero sponsor us.
Yeah, and the YouTuber thing is really annoying because it's like you've got a bunch of people who don't know anything about internet security pushing these solutions to you, and they don't know. They've been told by whoever's sponsoring them, Nord, that they'll be anonymous and it's private and all this. No, it's not how any of that works. And so you have these YouTubers, really influential YouTubers, who are like, oh yeah, you'll have peak privacy, no one's going to be able to know what you're doing, and this is all like a big worry. And then that's when they start pushing the data brokers and stuff too as well. But it's like, stop taking security advice from influencers.
I'm not sure if you ended up seeing it when you were reviewing the security policies, but I remember a while back, and most of the sketchy VPNs, like specifically if you go like to the App Store, you can type in VPN, then there's like a million on there.
Or you constantly get ads for ExpressVPN.
Right.
Yeah.
Like something sketchy.
That was another one. Yeah.
I know those for a fact. They collect your data to some degree and they sell it. They make money off of it.
Oh yeah. 100%.
And then are you going to get into like the review sites and stuff?
No, I don't know.
Thing for it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Whenever you go and look at these VPN review sites, pay attention who owns the VPN review site, because a lot of it, especially if it's anything owned by Cape Technologies like ExpressVPN or was it CyberGhost, stuff like that, they own the review site for the VPN that is saying, by the way, we recommend this VPN, and it's ExpressVPN, who is owned by Cape Technologies.
Conflict of interest.
Yes.
They're promoting themselves.
And then it's like, I think it's is it VPN Mentor or something like that. The review site is owned by Cape Technologies. And then it's like you start connecting a bunch of dots for these other internet or these other VPN providers, and it's like, damn, it's really like this review site that's recommending this VPN, like it becomes a pattern. The people who are pushing the VPNs are also publishing the reviews for them. So
do we have any recommendations?
So I do. I have one.
Comrade Mullvad.
But besides, go get you a bunch of Bitcoin, hold it in a crypto wallet, and buy your virtual servers via Bitcoin.
Go get you some Monero and go get a Mullvad subscription.
Yes. So Mullvad is actually an extremely good VPN provider that is simple to set up, and you don't need a bunch of technical know-how. So things like your Nord and Express and Surfshark and all of those, it's a very similar service, but there, if you go, and this was when I was comparing all of these privacy policies and terms and conditions, Mullvad was like my guiding star. Like I knew that one was good. And because when you go look at their privacy policy, they'll state at the very beginning, we do not log anything. And you go and read through, not only are they stating in their policies that they don't log anything, they give you screenshots, like proof that like they're talking about their no log settings, they give you their server, like their dev null, like their VPN.log dev null. Like they show you their configuration in their privacy policy for their servers.
Yeah, and Mullvad also, you don't have like an account. You have an account number, but that's it. Like, so I went and just signed up for it for funsies. But yeah, like literally you get an account number and they tell you don't lose this number or you lose the account. And then they use that number. That number is what ties like everything together. And then past that, you can do, they accept like cash and stuff. And then you can also do cryptocurrency. They actually encourage that you don't use PayPal or credit cards or anything like that, because as soon as you do that, you lose the privacy.
Right. And even then, in their privacy policies for those, one of the things that I want to mention is that they only keep the transaction information for the legally required time, and it's like 14 days for the refund policy.
Yep.
After that, they get rid of it. So whenever you look at all the other ones and you compare, most of them don't even accept any form of alternative payment that would be privacy conscious. So no cash, no cryptocurrency, none of that. They're just going to take PayPal, Stripe, debit card, credit card, whatever, which instantly de-anonymizes you. So they have those options that you can pay for, which bonus to them. And then, like Ty said, they strictly tell you, like, we do not recommend you, if you're concerned about privacy, don't pay in credit cards.
Right.
And what was funny is that I do find the cash thing funny.
Cash thing's funny.
They will literally accept an envelope with cash.
That goes so hard.
They even say it's their preferred method. Is that or crypto?
What? Say that again.
They accept you just sending an envelope with cash to them.
A strap of $100 bills.
Yeah.
A band. Yes, sir.
You include an account token in your envelope, and they will add time to your VPN account.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
So, and they don't, and like Ty said, a big thing is that when you create the account, it is just a number.
Yeah.
That is the only thing that is associated to you. So you can have 15 account numbers and it could all be one person. They even state in their privacy policy, it's like 555,000 people or account numbers exist. And that one of the things is like, this could be, 555,000 people, or it could be one person who has 555,000 accounts.
But the point is that they don't know.
Yeah, they don't know.
Which is actually good in this scenario.
Did you guys do any research on, I've been seeing a lot about a VPN provider called TorGuard. TorGuard is pushed by VX Underground, and I'm sure if I say pushed, it's not really pushed by Smelly and his folks. He does mention them in his feeds that's what they use, and I'm wondering, like, VX is like OG stuff to me. So if they think it's safe, then I would assume that it's safe. Like, if I'm going to take advice from anybody in the industry, it would be VX Underground.
It's just an extension of Tor, isn't it?
Yeah, they said it's a VPN. It's a VPN provider, so I'm not sure if it's an extension of Tor or not.
Yeah, I didn't really do any research onto that one specifically, so I couldn't really give any comment. But I would assume it's probably similar to like Mullvad, where if you have actual cybersecurity folks recommending it, then it's probably got similar controls.
What's worse, the VPN provider having your information or your ISP?
It kind of doesn't matter.
I was going to say it really doesn't.
Yeah, because it's like, really what you need to ask yourself is, why do I want to use a VPN? What am I trying to accomplish? And then go from there. And if it's...
I do want to say one thing about the ISP versus the VPN provider. A lot of those VPN providers, and you mentioned this, they're free. And when something is free, you are the product, meaning that the data that you're sending and they're collecting, they're selling it and making money that way. At least with your ISP, you're paying them. And so there's not as much of an incentive for them to collect your data and sell it to third-party data brokers. So that's one thing to consider on that front.
Well, speaking of data brokers, I think that's a nice segue to talk about data brokers. Now, you guys tell me what a data broker is, or tell everybody that's listening what a data broker is.
Y'all want to take that one?
They sell your internet. They sell your information on the internet to other companies who look to buy it.
So how do they get it?
Build profiles and stuff. Various ways. I mean, it could be anything from spyware, or you input information on a website, and the website happens to sell to the data broker. That kind of thing.
Would Zoom Info be considered a data broker?
I would consider it to be a data broker.
Yep. So cookies, public repositories of information, governmental stuff, open records requests, all of that type of thing. They can go and grab it.
You should mention the Surfshark cookie thing you found, because I think that's very interesting. Very important.
Yeah. So the thing that I did find, so Surfshark mentions in their privacy policy what cookies they install in your browser whenever you go and start using their services. And one of them is a persistent cookie, meaning it does not go away. It stays until you clear cookies out of your browser, which I have a feeling most people haven't done since like 2021. It's in there and does not leave. And it assigns a unique identifier to you, and this is in conjunction with a whole bunch of other cookies. You're talking about Google Analytics, Taboola, DoubleClick, all these different ad services that are collecting all kinds of different data from you. I wouldn't be surprised if like Zoom Info has something in there too. So you've got all these different cookies, and then you have a persistent cookie that assigns your machine a unique identifier that can identify your device, along with all the other information like your first name, last name, email address, all that fun stuff. So
for everyone listening, if you've gotten an unsolicited text message, if you've gotten an unsolicited phone call that says spam risk or something like that, that data was probably given out by a data broker.
Yeah.
Most likely, yes.
Right. I know I've seen an increase in the number of text messages that I've gotten from unknown numbers that says it basically, hey, you got a minute. Mm-hmm. That's basically it. Kind of hook you and who is this? Type thing. And the best thing you can do is just don't reply and delete it and block the number. But that's where that information comes from. It comes from these data brokers that have the ability to get this data from multiple sources and are able to compile it into their databases and then sell that information to the highest bidder. And I think I would like to just touch back. They're really adjacent topics anyways about what Ty said just a second ago. You really need to know why you're using a VPN, because I think we have a decent understanding of security. Granted, that's our career. Mm-hmm. But I have met a lot of people who aren't in this cyberspace, and they just do it because they want security. Right. And that's just not good enough because they don't understand the actual intricacies behind it. I tend to find this opinion with maybe some of the older crowd. They're like, oh, well, if I don't have a VPN, they're going to steal my information. Exactly. Right. And very clearly, as we've just mentioned, it's going to get taken anyways, because these free VPNs, as you've mentioned, they are the product. They're going to sell your data. They're going to make money. Yeah. So I think knowing the purpose as to why you're doing it, like, yeah, sure, 13, 14, 15, whatever old you are to watch, like, whatever content. Yeah. Right? Like I brought up K-dramas as an example. Go ahead. The excuse I get the most is I don't want the government to know like my browsing history. And it's like, okay, well, one, why? What are you doing? But two, it's like funneling all of your information into a single point that you're looking at what we call a single point of failure ultimately. Because now if, say you use Surfshark, Surfshark gets breached, which they haven't to my knowledge. Nord's been breached, but whenever they get breached, there's all your information. Like you've wrapped it up in a nice little package for an attacker. It's better if you break, or the government. If the government subpoenas them, there goes all your information. The government now has it. Your entire purpose is defeated. So
break up your what you use to browse the internet. Like the internet already runs, unless it's not running HTTPS, the internet largely is already running encrypted and everything.
Well, that is true, but from doing forensics, I mean, you can grab a lot of metadata.
Yeah.
You don't have to know what the content of the message is, right?
Right.
You know, because on the packet, the header and the footer is never encrypted.
Yeah, but you're talking about someone who has something to hide. I'm talking about like your average everyday person who's like
who just doesn't want the government, and which is a valid concern, right? That is a valid concern. My suggestion is to go get a flip phone from Walmart and buy the card. But even that's a financial transaction they can track back to you.
Oh, there was a really good. Oh man, I cannot remember that dude's name now, but I remember I read a paper on like how to truly like be off grid. Yeah, go off grid. No one's going to do it because there are, especially in the age of AI and all these things, like it goes down to the point that it's like, don't ever like speak in the same way that you normally do, like your mannerisms, like don't use those. Like you need to be changing the way that you talk occasionally.
You
need
to 5 different personalities.
There's something called linguistic forensics.
Yes.
Yeah, and so it's like you better be changing your shoes every day. Like if you wore a size 11, wear a size 8 tomorrow. Like that type of stuff. If you really, but well,
I don't know about y'all. I'm going to go back to curl and W-Git.
Yeah,
to surf the internet.
But in 2025, to your
and run that through Tor.
To y'all's point though, which I do want to say is that if you're using a VPN to just access, I don't know, The Office because it's not on US Netflix or something, just by like, it's probably not a big deal. Like if you're using these different services, because you're not really using it for like an actual
for
like,
nefarious
purposes or privacy
anonymous
concerns.
reasons.
Well, even on the nefarious front, there are so many steps you would have to take to accomplish something if you were truly doing something malicious.
Well, and I get back to what was told to me by the FBI task force down in San Antonio. They're so covered up with like legitimate, $30 million fraud cases that unless you're an active terrorist or you're a person of interest, they're not going to come looking after you because it's a waste of time. They don't have those kind of resources as far as we know.
Well, so like
until
the
AI
average
gets
citizen is already like, they've got categories of people and stuff, and there's specific categories they worry about. But yeah, you probably, as an average citizen, you don't fall into one.
Yeah. But on the data broker front, and man, I could talk about the VPN stuff for like hours, but on the data broker front, because again, the thing that the average citizen, if you're not being a malicious, intent person, right, or trying to do suspicious activity, the main thing that you would probably have to be worried about is your data being stolen or sold, because I know that's something that there's so much stuff being out there and getting bombarded with 1,000 different ads or getting your spam call or text or whatever. That's really annoying. So when utilizing these different VPN providers, being cognizant that if it is free, and even if it's not free, to be honest, whenever you're looking at the Surfshark stuff, they do sell your data, even if you pay for it, to these different third-party data broker sites or ad-based, things. So if you're cognizant of that, right, and you know what data brokers are, you can try to take steps to prevent your data from being stolen. And when looking into, because what I'm specifically referring to is there's these organizations out there very similar to Surfshark and Nord, and honestly, they're probably owned by the same company. I didn't look into it, but it's probably the case.
Nord and Surfshark are.
And I do know that those companies definitely have their versions of these products. But if you, these PII removal services like Incogni is probably one you've seen.
Yeah.
DeleteMe is another one that you've seen, most likely, if you've been on YouTube or listened to podcasts or whatever. So what these services are looking to do is they go to these data brokers and they supposedly put in these opt-out clauses on your behalf. And when they submit that data, these data brokers are supposedly legally required to go and delete your data from their repositories, and they're not allowed to sell it anymore. And their value prop or their pitch that they give in these ads on YouTube is, hey, this is an extremely laborious process. We'll automate that for you. Give us some money every month and we'll just continue to do it. And we'll keep sending all this stuff to these data brokers so your data doesn't exist out there. That's the value prop. Sounds really great. Oh man, I don't have to go and target all these however many 700, 1,000, 2,000 data brokers that are out there and send them emails every month to get them to remove my data. Won't get calls anymore. Awesome. Well, yeah, it's one of those things where what they're selling is a service, but the efficacy of said service is debatable, heavily debatable. I've got a lot of stats here that I find quite interesting regarding that.
Give it to us.
So, one, I'm going to another thing regarding the whole privacy concern is when you sign up for these services, they're going to ask you for a couple of things: first name, last name, city, address, where you live. Potentially things like your Facebook account, LinkedIn account.
They become the data broker.
Yeah, very similar. They ask you, and it's under the guise that they need that to send to the data brokers to have them remove it, right? So submit all this PII data to me, and then we will take that and we'll send that as a request to remove it from the data brokers. Well, so I'm going to give one quick stat on the success rate, and it's already shocking, but the stats following this, I think, even lean more to, oh my God, what are these people doing, or why do they charge this much? So the success rate for these companies, and this is off of a research paper that I pulled,
and we're going to put a link to that in the description.
Yep, I actually got it right here. Measuring the accuracy and effectiveness of PII removal services. This was done by a combination of 4 different colleges, like London. I think there was one in Hong Kong, and then there was one here in the United States. It was a group of 4 or 5 students that came together to do this, and the way that they brought their data is they had 74 participants, so that they recruited. So people would go out, and then there are, I think, 10 different. There was 10 different services that were included in the study, and then there was 2,024 data brokers that they cataloged within the study. They had the participants sign up for the different services, so like Incogni or Oply, Aura, all these different ones, and then basically had them use the service for a number of months, and then recorded the accuracy of the data in which they received back from these companies. So the success rate, according to this study, was 48.2%. So that's when they submitted it, and these PII removal services coming back with their reports saying what they were able to remove and what they weren't able to remove. On average, the success rate was 48.2%. So less than half of the time of 72 participants were they actually able to get the data brokers to remove data from their service. Now, here's the second thing that I find interesting, which makes these companies even less credible: the accuracy percentage. The accuracy of the PII data that was actually removed was only 41.1%.
So what does that mean?
So accuracy. So this is the interesting thing. When you submit all of that data, right? You are outside of, in this room, I'm not saying this, but to be mean, but I probably have the most unique name in here. There's not very many people with the name Brazos, but Mario, very common name.
Oh,
John,
so what you're saying is the data that they were actually trying to remove did not necessarily belong
to the user.
To the user.
Site.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I could actually attest to that a little bit. So I actually, I just for my own knowledge, I have Incogni and I've used Aura. Aura was just overall a disappointment. Incogni is about the same. Where did it go? I had a thing I was going. There it is. So yeah, so Incogni will actually alert you and say, "Hey, there's these other profiles that are very closely related to yours. Is this actually you?" And you look at some of these names, so there's a what was this Tate Vic Valdez? it's not even Valdez, it's Vladis.
Yeah.
So like these are obviously not me. And it's like for the amount of information you have to give these people, there should be no like discernment needed on like I shouldn't have to pick if this is me or not. It's obviously not.
Yeah.
So what are you doing with this data?
So it when you're talking about a success rate of and these are two independent stats. So a success rate of 48.2% combined with an accuracy rate of 41.1%.
Hot garbage.
It's not very good.
Yeah.
And the thing about is, okay, well, let's say you are John who lives in Texas. Well, how many Johns live in Texas or Dallas or Houston or Austin, right? So whenever they go and pull that, and a lot of these services, they don't give you the full record whenever it says, hey, we found something. So it's hard to validate if it's even your record. Yeah, you may have removed 100 records, but how many of those were actually
yours?
Your
40%.
Yeah, 40%.
And it's great because going through all this, like Incogni just gives you the addresses of these strangers that I have no idea who these people are. So it's like me as a security professional, I know how to go look up who these people are. That's terrible. You shouldn't do that.
Well, and that's one of the things about the data broker industry as a whole is that yes, most of the time these things are being used for like advertising and marketing, but there is a malicious aspect of that where if an attacker goes and they pay for these data broker services, they can go and get a lot of information about you. And I know we say AI stuff on this channel a lot, but whenever you're talking about building profiles and stories and being able to successfully phish someone, there is a huge data lake out there that, you know, for a couple of dollars, you can go and build some pretty dang convincing profiles about these people that exist. Another very interesting regarding the data brokers is out of these 10 different organizations, the overlap on the data brokers that they actually query is super low. So what does that mean? Why is that a problem? It means that basically their efficacy rate is already super bad, but not only that, but to be really effective, you would have to get multiple because the amount that they're checking are all different. Yeah. And the thing about data brokers is that there's not a lot of legal requirements to denote yourself as a data broker. Some states have them. Texas kind of, and I can get into that. But California, Vermont is another one. And if you go look, they have a registry online. The state secretary will list them. Texas currently still has their registry online. There's 218 that are registered here in the state of Texas that are data brokers. And I think California has like 300 or something like that.
When you say registered as a data broker, those are data brokers registered in the state of Texas as companies?
No.
Or all data brokers that do business in Texas are registered?
I'm pretty sure it's that. So 'cause some of these companies I don't think are in Texas. So if they are doing business in the state of Texas and they fall under a certain requirement, they have to register themselves with the state secretary as a data broker. And so if you look at the different states, they all have different numbers of data brokers. So it's like 218. There's some in California. I think it's like 300. Vermont may have more. And it's like the differences of who is where and where are these companies pulling their list from, and they're not the same. So are they really grabbing all the data brokers? Probably not. And even if they do, they're grabbing a good majority. You'd have to get 3 or 4 of these services to be comprehensive. And even then, combine that with the accuracy and the efficacy of them, you're going to be spending a lot of money for a service that's not very good.
Well, which leads me in my question. Is it even worth it to even try to do that? Or should you just go ahead and, as a user, consider that your information is out there, that this is just the way we live these days, and there's no way to get around it?
I think it depends on your needs. So like I've had my identity stolen before. I've had it stolen by some rando, but I've also had it stolen by a family member. So it's like, for me, it's a little worth it, but I understand it's kind of futile, but it has helped to a degree. But I can't promise that for everybody. You have to kind of sit there and do your own risk profile to see if it's worth it.
For identity theft, which is a higher level of what we're talking about here, as far as, just getting phone calls and getting bugged.
Yeah.
Every so often on your cell phone.
Yeah, which here it seems like we kind of have that issue.
Yeah. The way to attack that is through the credit reporting services.
Yeah.
Right. Put a warning or a freeze on your credit. In my experience, those guys have been pretty good about detecting, hey, fraudulent activity here and there. My bank's also pretty good about that. So good as if I do want to go have a steak dinner, I got to call them and ask for permission first.
Those are some good steaks, I bet.
Yeah.
See, I do all that through my credit union, though. I've never had any of the credit bureaus actually help me with that. It's always been my credit union.
Yeah.
I actually did. Yeah. Speaking of that, I did have my bank let me know that my social security number had potentially gotten stolen.
Yeah.
And I've never had anything else actually properly alert me on it. It was just the bank.
Yeah. And I would say we're getting into the realm of what I consider, and I think we've been here for several years, your social security number, you might as well, if you're listening to this, you might as well consider it compromised.
Yeah.
Because there have been too many, 40 million record data breaches out there. And you should go ahead and consider your social security number breached and out there on the dark web, and then put in mitigating circumstances on that.
Freeze your credit.
So, and because I did mention it regarding cost, I did want to bring this up because, again, these services aren't cheap. Like that, they're expensive, and also read the fine print on some of these. So I found this one quite interesting. The one Optree. I'm not sure how to pronounce this. So when you're looking at it, it defaults to a $3.99 a month one, which honestly, whenever I was looking through it, comparatively, that's like the cheapest option. Like all these are $10+ except this one. And while they have other options that you can choose from, one which is about the same cost as like $14 a month, which is about in line on average. But when you look at this one, it's $3.99 a month, but it only removes a single name, city, and state per account. So it's useless. Like it's completely useless if you pay for that. Again, then combine that with the efficacy of the actual tool. It's like, okay, you're paying $3.99. But then if you want the more holistic option, which expands that to not just one, but multiple, you're paying $14.99.
Yeah.
So, and whenever you're looking at this, just to rattle off some of the costs, and I'm gonna do annual here because generally the annual has a cheaper per month cost, but this is still insane. $129 a month for what is this? DeleteMe. Optree is $125 for their cheapest option.
Now, is this a month or yearly?
Yearly,
okay.
because the
you said
year
a month, and I was like,
yeah,
wait.
the yearly because often the monthly cost drops down, so you're still paying a lot of money. $129 a month for DeleteMe. There is. I believe that was 125 for Optree. You have 179 for something called Canary, 299 for that one. Jesus Christ, that's a lot. Incogni, which is another big one, 89.88 for that guy. So
a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, these are a lot. This is a lot of money for people to pay for a service that's like debatable, on the efficacy of it. Yeah.
So we need to we're running close to an hour, believe it or not. So we need to wrap this episode up with a synopsis. And here's what I've heard. VPNs that you pay for, you download the thing onto your phone or onto your computer. Be careful.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
Be careful. We're not saying that if that's what you're using to watch your K-dramas or whatever, whatever everybody, the anime stuff that everybody's watching these days.
Your Netflix and whatnot.
Yeah. That's probably fine. But just understand that it's not anonymous. Much the same way that Tor is not anonymous. It helps, but you got to know who owns the exit nodes. And at the end of the day, the VPN tunnel and the VPN provider, they own the exit node on your VPN tunnel at point blank. On the data brokers, your host, you might as well forget it. we do not recommend signing up for those services, especially with the stats that Brazos read off, because
It's costly.
it's costly. And what are you really getting? That data is going to migrate to other data brokers.
Yeah, it's going to migrate to data brokers. If you're paying for one, it's most likely not a holistic solution. There's another one out there somewhere that's got your data. And the thing about it is, yes, they do sell the service where they check every month or whatever, but it's like a CDN. You remove it from one area, it's just going to populate back from another one, from some other
There's
data
just
broker.
too many breaches that happen to make it worth it. And but yeah, like, so the Aura I tried because we had a client asked about it, and I found a discounted trial for it, so I tried it, and I was like, I wasn't impressed. Incogni I got for free through Surfshark because I wanted to test Surfshark and be like, okay, what are you actually doing? And then Surfshark ended up being disappointing.
Yeah, and I want to make clear that we're not making any claims about data leakage or anything like that. As far as we know, these companies are on the up and up, and attempting to keep your data safe unless required by law enforcement or some other government agency to turn that data over.
Yeah, the data leakage is its own thing.
Yeah, but we're not making any claims that those companies are doing that.
Yeah, no, that's not really the idea here. It's more that, and to what you were saying regarding, you really have to do the risk assessment yourself.
Yeah.
Like, if you aren't doing anything that requires you to actually have good OPSEC, and like you're not doing anything malicious, you just want your K-dramas, your Office, your whatever media you may be trying to consume, and it's just not available in your area for whatever reason that may be, government or just not hosted because regional locks, then you're probably fine. Just find the cheapest thing that's like somewhat reputable, sign up for it and use it. And just to give you one that's free and is okay, like, I wouldn't trust it on the privacy side, but it's okay. Proton VPN's free. Like, you can use it.
Didn't that get popped by Frack?
I don't know, to be honest, but their stuff's like okay. But
I don't know. It seems like Proton Mail and Frack had a run in, and I think Frack came out on top. I'll have to dig up that article.
yeah, I mean, again, it's one of those things that if, like, what was it, Nord that got breached as well. So it's like the most likely a lot of these companies have probably had some run in with some sort of malicious actor before. But if you're just using it for accessing Netflix shows that you can't get,
and most of these are also consumer grade. These are literally, I can get on my phone, look up the App Store. Just to put this out there, we love VPNs.
Yeah,
we use one.
We love VPNs. Yeah, we use them here all the time, right?
Yeah.
But appropriately set up, appropriately secure. That's going to be the main idea. If you think you can just, it's snake oil, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It'll do whatever you want. And if you just believe it,
it's managed expectations at that point.
I'm going to leave this podcast with one thought, that if you're using a VPN and you're touching Microsoft Office, Microsoft knows where you are.
Well, that's kind of the overarching point, is that, like, if
well,
you're
how I
doing
know
Google through all of your VPN.
Yeah.
No, their GeoIP data is like wrong.
Yeah, the GeoIP data is wrong, but I know what file you touched.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, all right. Well, listen, this has been a fun episode, very enlightening. So thank you guys for doing the research on that. I apologize. I was not prepared. Again, a little under the weather. Apologize for not having sound plugged in last week. We'll see how this one works out. Join us next week when we have Eyal Benishti, the CEO from Iron Scales. That'll be fun. We're going to talk about all things AI,
email security. It's going to be a lot of fun. Evolution of AI, phishing 3.0, great stuff.
We'll try not to be in the same clothes either. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, bye-bye.
Bye.